Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales. I am Johanna Lundström of The Last Stitch.
And I am Malena Hjerpe of Hazelhen Patterns.
And in today's episode, we're going to take, where we left off. We're going to pick up where we left off. Yes, English is always a struggle, but because in the previous episode, you gave us a great introduction to all types of woven fabrics and the main differences between the weaves. And that was not all right about wovens because it's a big topic.
We can talk about the weave structure, but then that might not always be the same as, that's not the thing that we shop for or look for or talk about. We also have like specific woven fabrics, types of fabrics. So I've made a list of lots of different fabrics and what does it actually mean. I'm trying to most of them like what kind of weave is it also. So it's going to be a little bit more helpful, fingers crossed, when you go fabric shopping online to know what you're looking for and to basically know what. So we talk about the same thing. And it can vary also a little bit regional names or so to say, so it's not like a set in stone list, but fingers crossed we're gonna cover most of it here.
That's so great. You can see this like the ultimate guide to actually shopping the proper right woven and to know what you're looking for, because as we touched upon in the previous episode, and if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend you go back and check. We will list the name and the number of that episode, because just give you a little bit of a run through where you talked about three main weaves: plain weave, twill weave, and satin. Those were the main ones.
Yes.
But of course, there's lots of different sub-genres, subdivisions of all these. And I still find today, especially when which I do love to do, proud luxury shopping sites, I constantly see new names on woven fabric. I'm like, what's that? Is that like a novelty thing, or is it like something I didn't know? So it can be a little bit confusing, I think. You think it wouldn't be too tricky, but I've noticed that there is a surgeons in new and rather fancy names. So yeah, it's definitely not all woven are created equal, just like with knits. There are definitely different properties. So let's start with that guide then.
Yeah, so the first two, I have categorized them like into more like typical jacket fabrics, trouser fabrics, shirt fabrics. But the two that I'm going to start with are like more heavy or basic fabric, and it is canvas and muslin. So both are usually like plain weave. Canvas is usually in cotton or linen or cotton mix. It could be synthetic as well. But the main thing about canvas is it's thicker. It's very sturdy. It can have like some surface treatment as well, depending on what is going to be used for. But you speak like a blank canvas, like a blank painting canvas. That kind of fabric, like really, it can be really, thick fabric basically. Muslin, it's a little bit, it's thinner, usually cotton, usually unbleached cotton. Plain weave again, but it's a little bit more loosely weaved. It's a little bit heavier yarn compared to bed sheets. And bed sheets is also more tightly woven, just to give like a comparison, like what's the difference. And muslin is mostly used as you use it when you make prototypes, like samples where you try out, because it's also very easy to draw on if you need to. Those are the two fabrics that I couldn't like fit into a jacket category, a trouser category, because you don't use them in that
they're more
sense.
functional fabrics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for instance, I would say when it comes to canvas, you see them mostly in bags, I would say. If you look at home sewing, if you wanted to make like a sturdy backpack, for instance, canvas is probably your go-to fabric. And of course, as you say, also with canvas, you can see a lot of those like coated to stand, weather and wind and sun, because it's like a really durable fabric. But also, I don't think it's very common. It's also a little bit rigid, I would say.
Yeah.
So for instance, if I would make a pair of trousers, I would prefer to do them in a sturdy twill rather than canvas, because it feels a little bit stiff.
Yeah.
And another thing I should say also, when it's a good way, when you say loosely woven, it's not as tight. I think a good way, when you hold up those unbleached muslin fabrics into the light or against the window, you can really see the light shining through because of that loose. I think that's a good way of seeing it in action, and then you compare it to more tightly woven like linen fabric, and you will see such a big difference when it comes to how much light it shines through those little openings. I think that's a very good tell when a fabric is a little bit more loosely woven compared to more densely woven.
Yeah, that's a very good description of it. If you then move into jacket fabrics, I mean, obviously you can do other things than jackets, but just to give you an idea of what purpose of the fabric, and also like the thickness, and so I've categorized them first. Jackets, tweed. Tweed can be a very big category of fabric, and here, I mean, this has an old rich history to it, so I'm sure some I don't have that much knowledge in this. What I'm trying to say is, like, people who comes from, I mean, Scotland, Ireland, are gonna have really, like, they have so much more knowledge in this. Be kind to me. Like, I'm just trying explain to it briefly here.
We'll see if someone sends out the tweed police for you.
Exactly, exactly.
They are the most well-dressed police force in the world.
Yeah. No, but usually tweed is made out of like more rough wool yarn. It could be a plain weave, or it could be a twill, and usually a tweed has it's not just one solid color. The yarn could be like, I mean, when the yarn is spun, it could actually be several different yarns, or like have slightly different colors, or it's spun together different colors. So it has a little bit of a, not melange effect, but a few different colors.
Heather, you say a little bit. I think melange or heather. I think there's a nuances in the colorways.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It's not just
plain.
It can, of course, also maybe be completely plain colored, but usually it has like a couple of colors. And then there are, of course, also different types of tweed. I think on one website there were like 8 different types, so I'm not going to go into every specific single one. But Harris tweed, I think people have probably heard of. And I think then it's like a specific pattern like woven into it for it to be able to called a Harris tweed. And I think maybe here, okay, now I'm guessing, like who is able to do this? Like not everyone can do a Harris tweed. Yeah, I think
probably.
It's like
I
a
guess
specific
probably proprietary thing, and I guess you have to maybe get a certificate or something like that.
Yeah,
some kind of governing agencies probably. The tweed authorities have that.
Inform us if you know better of this history. But anyway, I mentioned previous episode herringbone tweed. This is a twill that it's the shape, the pattern has a very like characteristic V shape to it, with the help of like either the twill is leaning towards the right or towards the left, so it creates like a V shape, and that is called herringbone. I mean, it mimics the shape of the herringbone fish pattern basically. And then there are Scotland tweed, and yeah, as I mentioned, there are lots of different type of tweed, and usually it's very like thick fabric, wool usually, so it's a very perfect for jackets. maybe trousers as well, or like a vest or something, but it's quite a warm fabric. It's a thicker fabric.
I should also say that I think in Sweden, if you would directly translate it, we say fishbone pattern, right?
Yes.
So just if that's more helpful as a visual, the shape of the
for the herringbone,
the herringbone, yeah.
Yeah, we are very direct in our descriptions. Another type of jacket fabric that you can see is bouclé fabric. I'm not gonna. It doesn't have the same outlook at all as tweed, but a little bit the same. Like it could be, because the bouclé usually also thicker. It's used wool yarn usually, or a mix, and the yarn is spun like it could be several yarns spun together, but then some of the yarns are like looped, so they are not spun into one smooth yarn. It's a little bit fuzzy, the thread.
Fuzzy, basically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's exactly.
So when it's woven together, I mean, it could be a plain weave, but when it's woven together, these loops create a structure. So it has like a very 3D effect. It could be very soft, like a slab effect almost, I would say. And like if you picture the typical Chanel jacket, Chanel dress or suit, like they usually have some kind of bouclé fabric. Yeah. And I mean, bouclé, it could be so many different visual look depending on what type of yarn you use. But it's usually this yarn that is, it has loops that creates this 3D effect.
Yeah, and oftentimes also used a little bit of contrasting threads as well. So there's even sometimes maybe black and white or different shades of white, maybe cream or white. So there's so much happening. And I think to me, visually, bouclé is the woven fabric that looks the most similar to a sweater knit, because you have that fuzzy surface and that uneven surface. So to the untrained eye, I can understand why you could think that maybe that was a knit fabric, because it looks totally different compared to what you expect from a woven fabric with that even surface and tight weave.
Yeah, and here usually I think it is plain weave, but it doesn't have to be plain weave either. But here it's more like how the yarn is used that makes it into a bouclé fabric. And then we have different plaid fabrics or checked fabrics. Usually, I was going to say usually it's made out of twill weave, but it doesn't have to be at all. It could be a plain weave as well. I mean, here it is just that the warp yarn that is going through the weaving loom, like not every other, but like 10 yarns are a certain color, then they change it and change it again, like to create that pattern. And then the weft yarn that's woven into it, also they change the color of that one as well, which creates could create stripes or checks. So it's more of play of colors. You could have it twill as well, that it will give like a little structure to it as well. But like a plaid or a checked could be either plain or twill weave. And I mean, a plaid fabric could be the thinnest, or check fabric could be the thinnest shirt fabric, or a heavy tweed type of fabric as well. So here, I mean, the range is, it's massive, to be honest. Then we have Melton wool.
It's
Melton,
usually wool. Right?
Yeah. This is a very thick fabric, perfect for like winter coats. Usually a twill weave, and but it is the surface is processed, so it doesn't, like, you don't see the pattern or like the twill structure or anything. It has like a bit more fuzzy surface, like almost like a felted fabric. Can have a little bit like a nap basically, or like a pile surface.
Do you know, just to bring you, because I was thinking about that, because as you say, that you see that normally in like heavier winter coats, for instance, I wonder if that is also a little bit warmer compared to, say, if you would sew a coat using a untreated twill fabric, for instance, a wool
Yeah,
tweed fabric. Because I can imagine that the fussy
mm,
surface will add, just like with fleece and everything like that, it kind of adds a little bit. Because in my own experience from sewing and wearing things, that I do find that a regular tweed is not, despite being maybe 100% wool, a regular tweed, even though it's on thicker side, is not as warm as a melt-on wool. So I was thinking,
think, yeah, tweed might be, just in comparison to Melton, tweed could be feel a bit like it's more loosely woven, or like there are like gaps in between the yarns,
right.
so to say. While Melton then is like, because of this treatment to the surface, it has been closed. Like there is there's no holes basically. Like you can't poke a hole into the fabric. So it's more, it's more insulating. I would say it's definitely warmer. So usually it's made in wool, but of course there can be mixes as well to it. And then the last one on jackets, I have jacquard. Now a jacquard could be also super thin. I mean, a jacquard weave could be anything. It really depends on what kind of material they are using, how thick the yarn is. But like a jacquard brocade jacket, like really, it could be a little bit more thicker, sturdier fabric. I mean, jacquard you can also use in lots of interior design. So here, a jacquard fabric, it could be so much basically.
But you usually get some like some kind of pattern. I think for me, jacquard fabric, they have some type of pattern to it. That's probably the biggest tell in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like woven into a certain pattern, flowers, leaves, like those kind of patterns. It's actually like some type of shape that is usually repeated. So,
and to get it even more confusing, you can also get jacquard knit fabrics to make it, because it's the pattern is probably French people, please help us out here. Jacquard, I guess it's probably means something. I guess it probably means something. Johanna and Malena, the brightest bulbs in the room. but I guess that's why because normally we have differences. We don't use the exact same name for knits and wovens, but jacquard is definitely an exception for that. That can also be confusing. And I find myself, when I shop for fabrics online, I can see jacquard being mentioned, and I have to double check. Is a knit jacquard or is it a woven jacquard?
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, like there could be one separate episode about the different woven jacquard types there are, and one about the different knitted jacquards, because there are like so many different types of jacquard as well. So jacquard is more of like an umbrella name for a patterned fabric, basically. So it's not printed. That's the thing. Like sometimes you see a pattern and it's like a surface print, but jacquard, then it's actually woven or knitted into a pattern with different colors or structures or whatever. So it's a little bit fancier fabric, usually a little bit more expensive. But those are the jackets. Do you have any other that you top of mind now that you... I have also a lot of other more sturdy fabric for trousers.
Yeah, because now we're talking about general like jackets in sturdy jackets, because jackets can obviously be very thin functional material.
Oh,
like
now I'm thinking Scandinavian winter jacket,
Not like...
just
for clarity.
Thicker fabric.
Yeah, old school jackets. Think about that.
Exactly. So then we have trousers, and this fabric could, of course, also be made into a jacket. Corduroy. In Sweden, we say Manchester fabric. I guess because it comes from Manchester, I'm guessing now. I don't remember my fabric history. But this fabric is a little bit more rigid. Doesn't have like that much drape to it. And the main thing is like it has a pile, like a cutted yarn, like it has been a loop then cutted so it becomes like a pile, and it's cut into like all of woven into cords or wales, so it looks like it has vertical ribs, basically. I mean, this is like it has a 3D effect, and they could be small or they could be bigger ribs.
It's very different because the baby corduroy is so smooth it almost is like velvet, and then you have this really broad corduroys which is basically very visible stripes with space spaced in between, and depending on fashion, there's always maybe, I think we call baby Manchester in Sweden, the thin and then baby corduroy. I guess I'm just curious again now with the language. Corduroy to me, Polish or French people, that sounds a little bit more French. So maybe it's funny because in English then maybe the French can claim that this technique, and then in Sweden we give the Brits.
Yeah, we give the Manchester
to me,
people
corduroy,
everything.
I don't know, sorry, I mean, I apologize, but that's why we have our Instagram account over at stitchingtalespod. Please clarify this, and apologies if we are not doing the proper credit here. Why we have sure these two very different words.
They have different names as well, these different types of corduroy. So I'm just speaking in general, like what
but
it is.
I'm just curious about why it's called corduroy in English and Manchester in Sweden, and if they're completely unrelated.
Yeah, who knows? And here, since it does have like a pile nap, the direction of the fabric is very important to cut them in the same direction, because if you have the leg on a trousers and you shift one up and one down, it might, first of all, it might feel differently, but it also might look very differently because the light is hitting it in different ways. Yeah. And this is for, I mean, obviously velvet as well. So direction is super important here. Then the next one, maybe one of the biggest common fabric, a twill fabric. And as we have mentioned, like this is a type of weave, but it's also, you can say a twill fabric also for this type of fabric. Usually then it's a cotton, maybe it does have a little bit of stretch in it, like cotton elastan or something. And you see it is the diagonal stripe that is the characteristics of this fabric. The thickness might vary to very thick to thin, and usually, I mean, this is the most common if you have a 5-pocket trousers, but it's not like a jeans, then they are usually made in a twill, because they have a little bit more, they follow movement a little bit better compared to a plain knit or plain weave fabric. So yeah, twill is super common for trousers or like jackets or whatever. So it's a very common fabric. Could be mixes, of course, as well. Material mixes, so it doesn't have to just be in cotton.
Yeah, and love me some twill. Love me some twill. I mean, as you say, also any type of pants. I mean, if I would do a 100% cotton pant, for instance, I would always go for twill. I just love the hand of it, the durability, the look of it. It can look really nice and polished. I mean, it does grow a little bit. I mean, so you can get a little bit baggy in the knees and things like that when you wear it, but also gets so comfortable. I don't know, there's something about twill. It's just perfect for pants. Yeah. It's probably my number one favorite pick when it comes to fabric for pants, at least.
Yeah, and denim, the next one, is actually also a twill. So denim fabric is a twill. Oh, sorry. It's just that the warp yarn is usually in indigo colored, like blue colored, and no, am I saying this right? Warp. I have written both warp and weft are blue. I can't make sense of my note now. No, the warp is the blue and the weft is white. fingers crossed I'm saying this right now.
Yeah,
but this means
I should know this too because I talk about this in my book Sewing Jeans. But language is a
I thought
struggle.
it was
it's
the opposite, but it was a little like, it's actually the warp that is
and
the
it's
blue
always
one.
hard because you're working also in a different language than in ourselves. So there's always a second step, like trying to remember things.
Yeah, but the thing here is, I mean, you don't see it if it's like a solid colored twill cotton fabric. But when it comes to denim, since they are, here's like, if it should be called a denim, it needs to be two different colors. So you see very clearly then that it's also one of the yarn that is so much more dominant, because you see the blue so much more compared to the white. So it is the blue yarn that is more visible compared to the white. And you can have broken twill for denim as well. Then it's a little bit more like fuzzy surface. You don't see these diagonal stripes anymore. And of course denim, I mean, here is a little bit also like, there are some denim nerds out there who have like incredible knowledge about this material, who could do like a podcast series just about the denim fabric. So I'm a little like, I don't want to butcher say the wrong thing here as well. But if you shop for denim, I mean, it could be stretch, it could be non-stretch. Raw denim, then it doesn't mean like, it means that it hasn't been like washed. If it's in indigo, then the color will bleed when you wash it and wear out when you wear it, which creates these beautiful whiskers then with wear. It could be lots of different colored denim as well. Then it could be some other colors compared to just the blue and white. So this is like a whole chapter of its own.
Yeah, totally. And I guess the confusing thing comes when it's not a blue denim, that there could also be red denim, which you say where the thread is both white and red, and there could also be red jeans that are technically twill fabrics, basically a red twill fabric. So it gets a little bit confusing.
Yeah, exactly. Like when is it a denim? When is it a twill? Or a denim is usually a twill, but
a twill. It is technically a twill fabric, but as you say,
the weave.
I think the typical distinction is the fact that you have the white thread, and that will always show through, both on the front surface, but definitely on the back, where you see there's always a lighter shade. So, for instance, a red jeans, a denim fabric, will have a red front with slightly white shades, and on the back it will be that kind of heathered white reddish look, whereas a red twill or a black twill, it will have uniform on both, will have the same matte one color. I guess that's the telltale, but I will say that
same colors.
Yeah, but sometimes you will see they're used interchangeable because when we're talking about different colors than blue. And I guess that's also because the jeans is also technically just a style of pants with 5 pockets and a yoke technically, or it doesn't even have to have a yoke or top stitching, which so you can basically sew a pair of jeans using twill fabric and it will kind of look the same. But that's why it gets a little bit confusing.
Yes, very easy to say the wrong thing, but it is. It's very intertwined into each other. Another fabric that is also pretty common for trousers, but could be for jackets as well, gabardine. This is usually a cotton or wool. Could be mixed, could be either or. It's usually a twill, but the stripe is more like steeper, more angled. It's very tightly woven. Usually it has some treatment to it, so it's waterproof. So it's pretty typical for outerwear. I have seen a little bit variation of this as well, so it could mean a little bit different, I think. But yeah, gabardine is, I mean, you see it every now. I mean, it's not that common, I would say.
No, it's funny because it used to be so common. So for instance, gabardine was very, very common in the 60s, and I would argue in the 70s, at least here in Sweden. And then we saw a move away from that, and it almost became, when you say gabardine, it kind of seems like a dated fabric, but it's a really nice fabric. And with my experience with gabardine also is that it's a little bit less prone to wrinkling than a twill, because one of the drawbacks of twill, it can, get crinkles. So actually gabardine is a pretty nice fabric, but I guess it was sometimes, at least in Sweden, was usually a kind of mix. So it was oftentimes maybe 100% synthetic materials or wool and synthetic. So I think it got a little bit of a bad rap. But I would argue that actually, from a weave standpoint and functionality, I think it's a nice fabric, and it's just not, as you say, you don't see it much, but it used to be just as common as twill, in my opinion, back in the days.
Yeah, yeah, and it might be, I mean, yeah, depending on the fashion, or if you just call it other names as well, those specific fabrics, like it can change over time as well.
I kind of suspect that, because speaking about what you do when you try to sell things, and my opinion, at least, the gabardine got a little bit of bad rap, at least here in Sweden. So I think maybe you would not always call that, because it would signal something that you don't want it to signal.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the most common fabrics for trousers, or like heavier fabrics suited for trousers or jackets. Then we have the category shirt fabrics, or I have written shirt fabrics. Could be dresses, could be anything, but a little more thinner quality, or thinner fabric, basically. And plain weave sounds very plain, but I mean, it is very common. If you have a shirt that has, plain surface, no structures to it, no nothing, like it's a solid color, then it's usually just a plain weave. But you usually don't, when you shop for fabric, you don't write plain weave to it. You usually have like a specific, if this is a quilting cotton, or for like the purpose of it, like, or if it's a sheet fabric, or if it's a shirt fabric, or whatever. So you usually kind of write the purpose. Then you can't just write plain weave and expect people to
it can be called something like cotton shirting. I've seen a lot of that. And I guess you want to, in marketing terms, you want to avoid plain. It's not.
Yeah, and it doesn't say anything basic, about the fabric either. Like it could be, I mean, everything from a twill to a bedding sheet. So you need to be more specific. But just so you know that, like a plain weave, it is a very common shirt fabric, to many different purposes. But then more specific for shirt could be poplin shirt, poplin fabric. It's a very tightly woven, usually also a plain weave. It could be a mix between wool, cotton, silk even. It has like a really crisp finish. And how it becomes a poplin, yes, I said plain weave, but then it has a finer warp yarn and a little bit more thicker weft yarn, so it creates a little bit of a rib effect, almost like a little bit of a structure. But so again, it's a plain weave, but because they use two different types of yarn in the warp and the weft, it creates these structures to it. Could also be different colors, or same colors, but it creates this usually a bit more. When you say poplin shirt, it's a little bit more crisper, like it doesn't drape, it's more sharp looking, I would say. Then we have Oxford shirt. I mean, that's a very classic one. It has, it's very durable, like soft, finish, a little bit less formal, and if I understood it correctly, it's a basket weave, and basket weave also a type of plain weave, but you usually then have like it's not one up, one down, it's two up, two down. So it's like, and two weft yarns woven into, so it's a little bit thicker in that sense.
That's so interesting, because honestly, I had no idea. I would have assumed that a poplin and Oxford were kind of interchangeable and just a fancy name for something as basic as a poplin. But I had no idea it was actually a different type of structure.
Yeah, it's
nice.
And again, Brits might come after me because I'm butchering these heritage fabric.
Yeah, the Swede police is coming after Malena, and also
yes.
is the shirt
I
police.
feel a little bit like I'm on the deep end of the water, like knitted fabrics. I know those at the back of my hand, but the woven fabrics, I mean, of course you heard about them, seen them, felt them, but what actually is the definition? I had to Google it.
But I love, we all that are listening to all this knowledge, we are very grateful for you doing all this research, and you do it in such a good way as well. And I've learned a ton already, and it's so interesting. But as you say, nice, that's why sometimes it's hard, because some of the things we just know on top of our head, and I get you. This is there are so many things you have to keep in mind at the same time.
Yeah, and also, but it's also good to know that when if you, for example, buy from an online or physical store fabric shop as well, if they sell dead stock fabric, I mean fabric that has been left over, overproduced in the garment industry, they might not even know exactly what they are getting. Yeah. They are just getting a bulk of fabric, right. And then they try to see what is the surface, what is the structure, but they might not even like get it completely right either, and maybe they don't have any notes on it. So they might be guessing as well a little bit. So it's not like, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to name the fabric, because also it could be several things. So bear this in mind also, that maybe it's not 100% correct on every single label in the fabric stores.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, my voice. But anyway, chambray, that's another, usually for shirts, but also for dresses, I think. It has quite a nice drape to it. Usually it's a plain weave, has a little bit of a matte finish, because plain weave, they don't have these long jumping yarns, so it gets a matte finish then. It could be like a linen mix as well. And usually if I understand correctly, the warp is colored and the weft yarn is in white. And it could also be then that they are in different materials or in the same materials. But here the main thing is that the warp is colored, the weft is white. Similar then to denim, but denim had the twill structure, so one color is going to be more dominant, while chambray is a plain weave, so it's equally shown then, but since one yarn might be a little bit thicker, one might be more dominant compared to the others. Usually chambray I like because it's very soft usually also.
Yeah, because I was like thinking I want to make more stuff in chambray. I agree with you. It's really beautiful fabric because you get that interest compared to a regular one color weave. And also I find usually that like palish blue color that usually chambray has is really beautiful. And honestly, I will say that I would like to wear and sew much more with chambray. And I think it's a trend thing because sometimes it's not as easy to find those fabrics. Sometimes they are very prevalent and sometimes it comes and goes. I guess it's because such a specific color and structure. But I mean, a dress in chambray or a blouse, I mean, it's gorgeous because I just realized I have to go out now. We can stop this podcast. I need to go out.
We need to go fabric shopping.
Yes, everyone is listening to Stitching Tales. Let's make chambray the trend fabric of 2025. Let's do this.
Yeah, but I wonder also, because you said light blue, and that's also like top of my head, like chambray, that's a light blue fabric. but does it have to be light blue, or is
No, I don't
that
think it has to be.
most common one? But yeah, I
Right.
also have like light blue with white thread showing through a little bit. Like that's the typical chambray
But I have
fabric.
also seen and worn made with more like darker navy, because you still get those white kind of spreckles. So it's regardless. But I would say that I think in a lot of our heads it's also a specific color rather than just a way of weaving the fabric.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's a slightly lighter blue, but it's a beautiful light blue fabric.
Yeah, I really like it. Then we have flannel, and this could also be a twill weave, a plain weave. It could be solid, like a solid colors, or very common to have it in checked fabric. So flannel, again, and it has like a brushed surface. That's the main thing about flannel, this brushed, fuzzy, soft, warm surface. And yeah, then it can look in very many different ways and be different thickness as well. And I think flannel shirts has been a trending fabric
on the
for
rise.
on the rise, for the last couple of years.
I would say especially among young people, it's been massive. I think it's also part of the kind of 90s grunge revival as well, that you see all these flannel shirts. And it's so nice to wear. I actually inherited one from my daughter. So yeah, and I love it. It's such a cozy fabric.
Yeah.
And also flannel pajamas as well.
Yeah, so warm.
Dream.
Yeah, I have flannel as bed sheets, but then when you try to, or like a duvet cover, but then when you try to put in the, how do you say, not pillow, but the duvet into the bedding sheet.
Yeah.
Oh my god, because the surface is fuzzy, is brushed, and to get those things to go, there is a reason why bedding sheets are usually a little bit more slippery.
Yeah, so now let's elevate the flannel duvet covers and make it two-faced.
Yes.
So we have an outside is the cozy warm flannel, and then it's like a plain or a satin weave, so it just glides in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because
we can credit us later.
Otherwise.
Yeah, we're gonna be billionaires.
Because I love it's so warm now in the when it's starting to get cold to have a flannel
I need
bedding
to
sheet.
get some. Because I had no idea that was a thing, and now I also, just like I realized I need to get me some chambray fabric, I realized I would really like to sleep in flannel sheets.
Yeah, it is so comfortable and warm, and yeah, great for winter garments as well. And obviously flannel, you can make a jacket out of it if it's really thick as well. So it really depends on the thickness of the fabric, what purpose you can use it for. But it's such a nice fabric. The next one, a little bit the opposite of flannel, seersucker, which is a little bit funny name. But this is more summer fabric.
This is going to be try to say this in Swedish. Every non-Swedish listeners, bäckebölja. That's bäckebölja.
That's also weird. It's a very strange name. But yeah,
seersucker is weird too. Yeah.
Yeah, and here again, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but if tweed and those kind of fabrics had more of a history from Ireland, Scotland, Great Britain, basically, seersucker is more US dominant. Would you say that?
I had no idea, because to me it's you see it much more in I guess especially with bed sheets, you see it more in other countries. But I would say that if you look to vintage fashion in Sweden, I would say that a lot of summer dresses were made of seersucker in the 50s in particular.
Yeah,
but you don't see it as much.
When I Google, there are more rules when you can wear seersucker, because it is a little bit more not laid back, casual. It's a little bit more casual look to it. So
I'm going to
that's
say
why
that
you can't wear it after or before. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a white after Labor Day or something like that. I don't know. There's a rule. We don't have those in Sweden, I think.
No, so
yeah,
any
that
US listener, like,
tracks.
please enlighten us. It would be so much fun to know. But the reason, so seersucker, if you don't know what kind of fabric that is, it has basically a 3D structure wave into it, and it like crinkled almost. Like some stripes in the fabric are smooth and some stripes are crinkled. It could be the same color, it's just that the structures are like striped, usually in cotton. And this is because when you weave it, you have different tension in the warp yarn. So some are really, really tight and some are a little bit loose. And then when you weave it and you wash it, some of them shrink up, or like they, how do you say? They become a little bit more like their natural tension, which means some becomes wavy and some becomes smooth then. I don't know if I think I remember my teachers telling me about this, again, I don't know if I'm lying now or not, but you could get this effect also with different materials. Like, for example, if you have a cotton mixed with some cotton warp and some synthetic
polyester
fiber yarn, they will shrink differently then. So you get the same effect then. Yeah. So that's also one way of getting this crinkle effect. Because this is a very expensive way. Seersucker can be a really expensive fabric because, I mean, it must be, I don't know how to like get different tension in different warp yarns.
Yeah, you probably have to set up your machine in a very specific way, and maybe get specific machines because they don't work the way a normal weaving loom would do, I guess.
Exactly. So I think this synthetic cotton mix is a cheaper option then.
I would say, I mean, hands down, seersucker is probably one of my favorite fabrics because it's incredibly soft. When you cotton seersucker, you never have to iron it, and you can wash it, and the crinkles are beautiful. And I've made so many garments from seersucker over. I would say that was my trademark for a long time, but unfortunately, it's gotten more and more difficult to find. Even maybe 15-20 years ago, it was pretty easy to find like a checkered seersucker or a striped seersucker in most fabric stores. But now maybe I need to go out and get some bed sheets, because you can still find those in seersucker and make myself a summer dress. I mean, I love it because it just you have that interest, and it looks kind of fancy but still every day.
It gives a casual look, but still a little bit elevated look. I think
elevated. That's the word, right? Exactly. So
I wonder. I mean,
if there are any more seersucker fans out there, let's raise our hands and let's bring seersucker back.
Because I wonder if you can't find it so much in store these days. Again, it has maybe not been on the trend, and I mean, obviously, anything you see in the fabric store is reflecting on what it's trending or not. So maybe seersucker has been a little bit forgotten.
I think I have a theory on that, actually. At least here in Sweden, back in the days when woven was still the most common fabric choice for a lot of children's wear, seersucker was very common because, again, you have this, you don't have to iron it, you can just wash and wear it, so it's very practical. And then, because I mean, I would argue that 99% of all children's clothes now are, for smaller children at least, are made out of knit fabrics. So I guess that was a big market that just went away.
Yeah.
Because it was very common to have these little tops and things made from seersucker fabric back in the days when the kids were smaller.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's true. Then I have a couple of fabrics that I can't really, not sure which category to fit it into. So they are a little bit, I do have a whole page still about thinner fabric, or like more, dress fabric, slippery, the slippery fabric. So I don't know, should we just run through them, or can we talk 3 episodes about woven?
Yeah, we can do, you know what? We can also do a separate episode just about slippery fabrics, because I think that's all the fabric everyone loves to hate.
Like you want to buy them, but oh my god, there is a feeling. Maybe we should, let's do that as a third episode.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna do
a little
dedicated.
bit, maybe. I don't have any tips or tricks. Could you also like how to sew with them?
I definitely have some. I definitely have some tricks and also some painful stories to share when sewing with slippery fabrics. So
perfect. So let's put a pin in that. The slippery fabrics, but I have three fabrics that are pretty quickly that I think we still can do in this episode. Just like again, common name that are good to know. Ripstop fabric. Usually you maybe have them on performance, like sportswear, like a jacket maybe. It's usually quite thin, like nylon feeling to it. But it has a little bit of a not checked surface, but like square surface.
Like a squares, right? Yeah. So they're like a grid.
Exactly,
grid almost.
A grid. Exactly a grid. Because I'm just making it up, but every say 10th yarn, every 10th warp yarn and 10th weft yarn, or 20, I don't know, are in a more reinforced yarn. It's a thicker yarn. So basically, if you rip the fabric, that those thicker yarns will stop it. It's a reinforcement basically. So I think it's more common on sportswear jackets. It's not that common fabric in general, I would say, but you see it every now and then also in the ready-to-wear garments.
It's usually functional. Otherwise you see it in tents basically, and things like that, more functional makes.
And these have like absolute no stretch to it. Sure on the bias, but nothing, no give to it.
Nah, it's a kind of stiffened. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not heavy fabric, but it doesn't really drape, which makes sense, of course, because it has this grid that will stop the fabric literally from ripping. So I guess it can only rip until that next grid line. But it's definitely not something you see it sometimes in windbreakers and things like that.
Exactly. But and then double glass. I mentioned this in the previous episode. Basically 2 layers of woven fabric that are intertwined every now and then. Could be cotton, linen, or a mix of it could be anything basically. Usually very thin, loosely woven, very popular for summer fabric. And here they could have structures, and double gauze, or it could be a lot of different types of fabric as well, but just good to know. And then the last one, velvet fabric, that has like completely different to anything else. Then it has like loops woven. When you weave it, you create loops that is then cutted to create this pile surface. And as I mentioned, same with corduroy. Super important that you have the same direction when you cut out the fabric. And these fabrics that has a pile to them, it's a little bit trickier with the pressing, with the sewing, so you don't destroy the beautiful surface. And velvet, again, also it could be like quite thin or super heavy, rich curtain fabrics. So here it varies a lot as well.
A lot. So there's a massive difference. I mean, if you, for instance, if you think like a cotton velvet that you may use for furniture compared to that soft silk rayon velvet that you can wear in clothes, it's a huge range of different fabrics. But as you say, it's usually quite sensitive to heat, and especially. I mean, speaking of slippery fabrics, I mean, silk velvet, I've done a few garments of that, and I mean, wow, it's so hard. You do, because we all know that, as Malena says, you have to press as you go, but it's kind of scary, let me tell you, because it's not just sensitive to heat, also to water and steam, so you don't. I love that kind of fabric. We can talk about, being a struggle. So, I mean, definitely not all velvets are created the same. And I would say if you want to make something like a pair of jeans using cotton velvet, or the go ahead. It's not that difficult. It's just gonna a lot like with the pilling. It's gonna be a lot of pilling when you're sewing. But apart from that, if you, as you say, Malena, just cut all the pieces in the same direction, you're good to go. But if you want to do that silk rayon velvet journey, then it's a whole different thing. I mean, be prepared.
Yeah, and the velvet, I mean, it could also, there are knit velvets as well, so that has a lot more stretch into it. So, I mean, these kind of fancy fabric, they can vary a lot also, both woven and knit. So many different types there as well. But yeah, lots to talk about, lots to say about woven fabrics, because there are plenty different types of woven out there, basically.
Yeah, if you had asked me to list, I wouldn't have come up with, and I think I'm pretty good. I've also studied some fabric science, but honestly, I don't think I would have made at least half of these that you mentioned. But now that you talk about them, I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, this, I took it from the Clo 3D program, a computer program that you can sew up and visualize garments. You can try them on a 3D avatar and see the fit and do design changes there, and super great program. And then they have different fabrics that you can use, because obviously the fabric is going to affect the fit a lot, or the drape, and the outlook, basically. So I basically took their list and written down and categorized them then, and added a few things and removed some that are not so relevant. So these are, I would say, the most common in the clothing industry, but of course there are others as well. So if there is anything you missed, let us know. And we are gonna dive into the fancy fabric as well, like crêpe de chine, duchesse, all different silk types of fabrics.
The horror fabrics, also known as.
Yeah, the shiny ones that have their own mind.
They're mesmerizing, but also very dangerous.
Yeah, this is the fabrics that on Project Runway, all the designers like, I want to pick this and start to drape and pin, and then it's like, how am I going to do this? Like,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's probably usually the biggest fails in that show. That's usually when they try to tackle one of those fabrics without the skills, and obviously they also have lots of time constraints, and you can see the puckering in the seams and everything, and the hem looks terrible. And then it kind of feels good, because it's so good to know. I mean, obviously these people are quite young in the business, and they're usually primarily designers and not sewers, but it's also kind of comforting to see that they are indeed struggling with these kind of fabrics. Yes. So it's definitely but I love talking about them, and so I look forward to doing another deep dive, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know more about those things, and
yes,
why we are a little bit thorn about them,
what to avoid, maybe.
What to avoid, yeah. And I will say also, just to give a bit of encouragement, because I will think that you can, if you understand the properties of those fabrics, you will also be able to come up with a nice looking garment. I think one of the mistakes that you see in Project Runaway and other is that they don't understand that this is kind of fabric that you perhaps should avoid having too many seams on. For instance, you should go for a more simple style with easier finishing. So it's a lot of those things as well when it comes to slippery, tricky fabrics.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to choose the right project for that specific fabric, definitely.
All right, and thank you so much for sharing this. It was so interesting, and I hope that, and I'm absolutely convinced that everyone has found this extremely helpful as well. And I'm definitely going to go out now and look for some chambray and seersucker. That's the key fabrics 2026.
Yes. Let us know if you have anything that needs to be corrected, or anything that any questions we would love to hear. And maybe share this with a friend if you have someone who loves woven fabrics as well. We want to spread the word.
Totally. All right then. Well, thank you so much for taking this journey along us, speaking about woven fabrics. I am Johanna Lundström.
And I am Malena Hjerpe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.